High above the turquoise cliff of southern Anatolia, the mountains still whispers. When the sun falls behind the Taurus range and the last light brushes the sea, the stones began to glow. Hundreds of doorways carved into rock, suspended between heaven and earth. To the Lycians, they weren't graves. They were homes for the soul, a place where dead could still watch over the living. Their spirits carried on the salt wind that rolled in from the sea. Now imagine standing before one, a tomb carved halfway up a mountain, unreachable by human hands. The openings are shaped like the doors of a house, complete with columns and lintels, as if the dead might open them at dusk and step out to breathe again. They believed death wasn't an ending, but a change of address. From the city below to the cliffs above, their world sat as a crossroads where the empire of Greece and Persia collided, and yet they remained fiercely themselves. Their language was unlike any other, their gods older than Olympus, their silence deeper than the sea they guarded. The Lycians lived between the worlds, between the living and the dead, the foreign and the familiar, the known and the eternal. And even now, the cliff remembers them. Each tomb still faced the same horizon they once prayed to. The setting sun, the final voyage, the promise that no soul ever truly disappears. The Lycians didn't speak to the dead. They built them a kingdom. To understand the Lycians, you have to start with their home, a stretch of coastline where the earth seems to breathe. In the south of modern-day Turkey, the Lycian peninsula juts into the Mediterranean like a blade of stones. Mountains plunge straight into the sea. Valleys run with cypress and laurel. The air hums with the heat and the distant cry of gulls. Here, cliffs glows orange at dusk, and the ruins of temples lie hidden beneath fields of wild thyme. It was a land both beautiful and severe, a place that demanded resilience. The Lycians call it Trimili, and they were shaped by it as surely as they had shaped the mountains. They carved their homes into slopes, terraced their fields against the wind, and built cities that clung to the rock like living things. Lycia was a frontier, wedged between the great powers of the ancient world. To the east, Persia's vast empire pressed down. To the west, Greek traders sailed in with silver, art, and ambition. And yet the Lycians bowed to neither of them. They were small people surrounded by giants, but giants learned to trade carefully. Their independence wasn't born of arrogance. It came from their geography. Each approach into Lycia was a trial, winding passes, narrow coves, and mountains that swallowed armies whole. Even the sea was a gate they controlled. They became masters of isolation, trading when it suited them, fighting when it didn't. Their cities, Xanthos, Myra, Patara, were small in size but immense in spirit. Each had its own council, yet together they formed one of the earliest known democracies, the Lycian League, a federation where each city sent representatives to vote. Centuries before the Roman Republic even existed, they wrote in a script that no outsider could read. Half Greek, half something older, belonging to no known family of languages. It was their way of saying, we exist between the world, we speak in our own voice. And in this land, between empires, between the known and the sacred, they lived quietly, proudly, convinced that the god watched over them, not from above, but from within the mountains themselves. Because for the Lycians, nature wasn't just a backdrop, it was divine. Every stone, every gust of wind, every ripple in the turquoise water carried meaning. The living shared the world with their ancestors, and the cliff that towered over them, those were not obstacles, they were thresholds. The Lycians built their lives in the shadow of eternity, knowing that one day they too would join the cliffs, watching the sea through doorways cut into stone. Lycia may have been small on the map, but its spirit was enormous. surrounded by kingdoms that measured greatness in conquest. The Lycians measured their endurance in what they built, what they preserved, and what they refused to surrender. Their cities rose along steep hillsides, wrapped in stone walls and silence. The most powerful among them was Xanthos, Patara, Myra, and Tlos. Were not just settlements, they were living sanctuaries. Each city had its own acropolis, its temples, and its necropolis. The city of the living and the city of the dead facing each other at the same valley, separated only by air and memory. In time, Lycia became something very rare, a land united not by one king, but by the Lycian League, a federation of more than 20 cities bound by council and a common vision. Each city sent its representatives, and each voice, larger or small, was heard. Centuries before the Roman Senate, before the Athenian Assembly, the Lycian practiced representation, democracy carved out of necessity, held together by trust. This was their strength, the power of unity without submission. And it wasn't born from philosophy, it was born from survival. Every mountain pass they guarded, every harbor they watched, demanded cooperation. Alone, they would be erased. Together, they were unshakable. Their wealth flowed not from war, but from the sea. Lycian ships carried timber, olive oil, and artisans worked across the Mediterranean. Their sailors brought back ideas and stories from Egypt, Crete, and Rhodes. But no matter how far they traveled, they returned to their mountains, to the cliff they guarded their ancestors. Even the god of Lycia seemed to live among them. They worshipped Leto, the mother of Apollo and Artemis, who, according to myth, found refuge in Lycia while fleeing the wrath of Hera. It was here that Apollo, god of the sun and the music, was said to have first seen the light. The Lycians built the sanctuary of Leto at Litoon, a sacred complex where pilgrimage came to offer prayers to the divine family, the gods of birth, art, and the light. Through this faith, they tied themselves to heaven. But with their feet still planted in their rugged soil, their power wasn't loud. It was measured, collective, and enduring. While empires burned across the horizon, Lycia stood as the shade of its mountains, unbent and quietly wise. They had no ambition to conquer. They only wanted to belong to the land, to the gods, and the endless conversation between life and death that shaped everything they built. From the cliff above the Lycian coast, the dead never truly left. The tomb faced the same horizon the living saw each morning. The sun rising over the sea, the wind sweeping through olive groves, the endless rhythm of waves below. To the Lycians, this was not a coincidence, it was communion. They believed the soul remained close after the death, lingering among the mountains and the air. So they carved the resting place of their ancestors into the living rock, high up, unreachable, as if the spirits might step from their doorways and ascend into the sky. These were not crude carves, they were houses of the eternity, complete with pillars, lintels, and facades that mirrored the architecture of the living. Each doorway was a passage between worlds. At Myra, hundreds of these tombs cling to the cliff like swallows' nest. When sunlight strikes them, the stone glows gold, as though the dead still watch over the valleys below. Inside, reliefs and carvings shows the journey of the departed. Warriors, nobles, and sailors frozen in their final triumph. But this was not a privilege of kings alone. Every Lycian city had its necropolis, a city of the dead, just beyond the walls of the living. The two realms existed side by side, separated not by fear, but by reverence. Death for them wasn't exile, it was continuity. Each tomb told a story of a man who once traded across the sea, of a woman who watched her sons carve the mountains that would hold her spirit one day. They left offerings, oil lamps, cup of wine, carved amulets, token for the journey. Even their funerary art spoke softly of connection, not despair. Their gods were not distant judges, but companion in transition. And above all, the Lycians believed that to forget the dead was to lose part of the living world. Every carving was a conversation, every tomb a promise. In Lycia, memory itself was architecture, something you could walk beneath, touch and still feel breathing. For centuries, Lycia's mountain kept the storms of empires at bay, but no land stay untouched forever. The peace carved into the cliff would soon meet the fire of conquest. The first shadow came from the east, the Persian Empire, vast and unstoppable, swept across Anatolia under Cyrus the Great. One by one, cities fell when their armies reached Lycia. The people of Xanthos chose something the Persians could never understand: defiance through sacrifice. Ancient historians tell when the Persians breached the city walls, the Lycians gathered their families, treasures, and sacred relics. They set their cities into a blaze and threw themselves into the fire. They would not bow to the foreign rule. They would rather become ash than slaves. But empires are patient. Under Persian governors, Lycia survived, creating obedience for survival. The Lycian League endured quietly, even as their kings began to mint coins with Persian symbols. They adapted, bending but never breaking, because the Lycians understood something most empires never did. Resistance is not only in battle, it's in endurance. Then came the next wave, Alexander the Great. In 334 BCE, his armies thundered through Anatolia, scattering Persian control. Lycia opened its harbor to him, not out of surrender, but recognition. Alexander admired them, their architecture, their art, their quiet dignity. They left Lycia mostly untouched, a testament to how power respects those who carry it without flaunting it. After Alexander's death, Lycia passed through hands of his successors, the Ptolemy of Egypt, the Seleucids of Syria, and later the Romans. Rome, inspired by the efficiency of Lycian League, used it as model for its own provisional governance. Even centuries later, Cicero himself praised the Lycians as a people united in freedom. Yet beneath that praise was loss. The Lycian League faded, replaced by Greek and Latin. Their tombs, once symbol of divine continuity, was raided, withered, and forgotten. Their independence was gone, but their ideals, collective rule, spiritual connection to the land, reverence for memory, quietly outlived the empire that conquered them. By the time Rome absorbed Lycia into its vast dominion, the people had changed, but the cliff remained. Even the conquerors built their temples into the same limestone, facing the same horizon. Fire could not erase them. Empires could not silence them. The mountains of Lycia still carried the same whispers they had for 1,000 years. A promise that spirit of the people does not die with their language, nor with their name. Centuries have passed since the Lycians spoke their language to the wind. Yet their silence still echoes across the southern coast of Turkey. The mountains that once guarded their homes and tombs remained untouched, watching over the valleys below with the same quiet dignity. Their cities have long since fallen to dust, their words forgotten by time, but their presence lingers in every carved doorway, every weathered stone that faces the sea. The cliff of Myra and Xanthos stand like open books, their pages written not with ink but with shadows and light. What makes the Lycians unforgettable isn't just their architecture or their politics. It's their intimacy between their lives and the afterlives. They refused to separate the two. To them, death wasn't a departure, but a continuation of dialogue. A father could still watch over his son from a tomb carved above the fields. A mother could still whisper through the wind that passes between the olive trees. And perhaps that's why their legacy endures. because Lycians built with memory as their foundation. They taught the world that eternity isn't in marble or empire. It's in remembrance. Even the Romans, who absorbed their cities into their vast dominion, couldn't erase what Lycia taught. The Lycian League, that early experiment in democracy, would one day influence political thinkers across the world, including the architects of modern republics. But the truest legacy of Lycia isn't written in constitutions. It's carved into stone, suspended in light. It's in the idea that civilization means nothing if it forgets it's dead. If it forgets that every soul once living helped shape the world we walk upon. Today, travelers stand beneath those same tombs and feel what the Lycians must have felt. Reverence and unspoken understanding that the past never really leaves us. The cliff still faces the horizon. The wind still carries their voices. And though Lycians are gone, their story remains. A reminder that even when time erases words, it cannot silence the conversation between life and eternity. Thank you for watching CTT Stories, ladies and gentlemen. The Lycians are gone, but their voices still rise from the cliff. Not in words, but in wind, light and stone. If this story reached you, help it reach someone else as well. Let their memory travel again. Carried this time not by empire but inscription, but by those who still listen. Subscribe for more stories carved from time. Stay curious, stay human, and remember, the dead are never silent, only waiting for someone to hear. And I'll see you in the next one.